Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today, with it being the beginning of the month again, we're going to be taking another request from Patreon member Bladed Thesis, and today he's asked me to look at a band called Adrenaline Mob. Never heard of them before, so as we all know by now, I took it upon myself to look up who the band are, and I was actually quite surprised. Adrenaline Mob is an American heavy metal supergroup formed in early 2011 by singer Russell Allen from Symphony X, a band that I am familiar with, guitarist Mike Orlando, not sure who that is, and drummer Mike Portnoy. Now, that's a very well-known name in the drumming community, obviously one of the founding members of Dream Theater, and a very, very impressive drummer. The band's current lineup consists of Russell Allen, Mike Orlando, and drummer Jordan Kanata. So Portnoy's not actually part of the band anymore, it would seem. Don't know. But anyway, the band, like I say, was formed in early 2011, had its first live performance in June of that year at the Hero Ballroom in New York City, with the addition of bass player Paul DeLeo from Fozzy. And rhythm guitarist Rich Ward from Stuck Mojo and Fozzy. They released a YouTube video cover version of the Black Sabbath song The Mob Rules on June 27th to promote the band. On New Year's Eve of 2011, Adrenaline Mob announced via their Facebook page that they would release their debut full-length album Omerta on March 13th, 2012, and also released the album art of that same album. In 2012, they announced the departures of Rich Ward and Paul DeLeo due to scheduling conflicts with their other bands. John Moyer of Disturbed was later revealed as the band's new bass player. He made his onstage debut with the band in March 2012 at New York City's Hero Ballroom, a day before the release of Omerta. Now, there is a hell of a lot more information here, but I can't go through all of it because there is a lot. But yeah, they've had a lot of former members and not many that I actually recognise the name of, but I'm sure they're all very well-known people. The only consistent members have been Russell Allen and Mike Orlando throughout the whole thing. So yeah. Now, Bladed Thesis asked me to look at a track called Indifferent. And not knowing anything about it, obviously I had to look up the lyrics. I found some lyrics, but they do come from genius.com, and as we know from previous lyrics we've got from there, they can't always be 100% reliable, but we'll see. So we've got a lead vocalist from Symphony X, a band that I'm quite familiar with, and, you know, a band that was originally created with Mike Portnoy, so I'm willing to bet the drums are probably quite impressive as well. But it doesn't actually specify what type of music they're making. So I'm completely in the dark there. So I'm very intrigued to see what we're going to be looking at. So we'll jump into the video. But before we do that, if you could just take a moment to like and subscribe if you haven't already, it would really, really help me out. You know, I've been doing this for about 6 years at this point, and not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little bit disheartening. But, you know, if you could like and subscribe, it would really, really help me out. It costs you absolutely nothing, it takes just a fraction of a second, and would make the biggest difference to me and the channel. But with that being said, let's just jump into this track and see what we've got. So this is, come here, this is Indifferent by Adrenaline Mob. Let's have a look. Oh, okay. Sudden stop. There you go. Indifferent by Adrenaline Mob. Now, that's quite good. I quite like it. Look, I didn't know what sort of music I was expecting going into this, and honestly, it wasn't disappointing at all. You know, it was... I've not covered music like this in a long time, I don't think. You know, it's more what you'd define as heavy metal. You know, it doesn't seem to have... I can't think of a specific subgenre of heavy metal that this would fit into other than heavy metal or heavy rock even. But, you know, it's good. You know, it had nice, heavy, chunky guitar sounds to it. Some really good riffs. A little fiddly-diddly solo. You know, a little bit of playing about on the fretboard. You know, a little unnecessary showmanship. But, you know, not going to take that away from them. It sounded really good. And the actual song itself, Indifferent, it sounds like someone who's sort of trying to come to terms with possibly a mental health issue, or perhaps just a life where he feels like he's had no direction, and you know, he's sort of becoming apathetic. You know, sort of apathetic, is that the right word? I don't know if it is. Anyway, you know, he wants to become indifferent, you know, sort of like not care anymore. And you know, and there's that imagery towards the end of the video, which is quite an interesting and quite a powerful image, really, where he's fighting with someone. It turns up he's beating himself up, you know, so that's sort of symbolic of him taking his frustrations out of himself, sort of living a self-destructive lifestyle, possibly, you know, treating himself badly, beating himself up about things that he had no control over. So that's quite an interesting viewpoint. Now, the lyrics were pretty clear in the actual performance, but we'll talk about them anyway, because that's kind of my thing. And it opens up with the lines, "Looking back on my life, it doesn't seem to be very clear when I lost my fear. I've lived my life, I've taken chances, staring down my own reflection. Sometimes I feel like I've lost my mind, it's a waste of time. I'm asking you, but I never get an answer." So looking back on my life, it doesn't seem to be very clear. So, you know, his past is like a mess, maybe. You know, his life doesn't make any sense up to this point. There was no direction to it. It was just a very sort of haphazard sort of life. There was no substance to it. You know, there was nothing clear about his life. It doesn't seem to be very clear when I lost my fear. I've lived my life, I've taken chances. So, you know, I've done things, I've taken chances, possibly unnecessary risks, maybe. Staring down my own reflection. So is that sort of staring down my own reflection? Could that be like trying to not outdo himself? I can't think of the words I'm looking for. You know, but sort of staring himself down, trying to put himself down, but trying to feel some sort of superiority over himself. It's a very weird sort of thing. I know the words I'm trying to think of, I just can't articulate them. There's that line, "Sometimes I feel I've lost my mind. It's a waste of time. I'm asking you, but I never get an answer." So, like, he feels like he's going crazy. You know, he looks at his life and he's like, "What am I doing? Where am I going? I've got, you know, my life has had no purpose up to this point. I've done stupid things. You know, I've taken risk, perhaps unnecessary ones. You know, I've done things. But what is this amounted to? What is my life at this moment?" And, you know, I keep asking you, you know, I keep looking to you for answers, for guidance, but I never get any clear answer. You just sort of dodge the subject and, you know, you're not helping me, essentially. Then it goes into a pre-chorus. "I'm falling in, I'm falling out, I'm walking the straight and narrow. I'm falling in and I'm falling out, I'm breaking down again." So this sounds like, you know, falling into bad habits possibly, and falling out of bad, you know, I've sort of fall in and out of bad habits, or it could be a altered state of mind. You know, it could be depression, it could be anxiety or whatever. You know, I keep falling in and out of this. I'm walking the straight and narrow. You know, I'm trying to have a guided path. I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to have purpose. But I keep falling in and out of these, different mindsets, whether it be, I'm trying to do something, I'm trying to aim for something, but I keep getting diverted, I keep falling out of it, and I keep wandering off in different directions. And, or it could be, I'm trying to stay focused, but my mind travels off somewhere else. I fall into a deep depression, or maybe, this sort of thing. I don't know. And, that last line, I'm breaking down again. I'm trying to stay focused, but it's all going wrong. I never thought you'd hear me say I'm better now, so I don't need your sympathy. So taking this life day by day, I'll be indifferent. I never thought you'd hear me say I'm better now, I'm nobody's tragedy. I'm taking this life day by day to be indifferent. I'm indifferent. So, I never thought you'd hear me say. It's an odd line. It's like I never thought I'd get the chance to say to you that I'm better. I never thought you'd hear those words come from me, because I've had so many struggles, because I've had such a tumultuous sort of life up to this point. I've had so many struggles, I've had so many difficulties, I've made so many mistakes, etc. I never thought I'd get the chance to say to you, I'm fine, I'm better, I'm doing well. So, I don't need your sympathy. I don't need you, throwing sympathy at me. And there's a lot of people that pride does kind of get in the way sometimes, when people are struggling with perhaps mental health problems, or even just struggles in life in general. They see someone, offering sympathy, so, I'm sorry you're going through this, and they sort of twist that perception to be that person is pitying them, that sort of person going, oh, never mind, it'll all be good in the end, and for some reason they take that as they take offence to that, because it makes them feel weak in a way, I suppose. There is a lot of pride in a lot of people when it comes to like mental health or just struggles in general. They want to think that they're strong enough to get through this by themselves. They don't want, as they see it, charity from other people to help them get through. They want to be the big tough who actually pushes through this by themselves. They want to be stoic and strong enough to push through it themselves, and it's not the best way to go. The best thing you can do if you're in a situation where you're struggling is to reach out for help. He says, I'm taking this life day by day to be indifferent. So, I'm just going through life, taking life one day at a time to be indifferent. And being indifferent isn't necessarily a good way to be. You don't want to get to the point where you're numb to everything. Because if you're indifferent, whilst the tragedies and failures that you suffer, all the bad things that happen, if, when those things happen to you and you just go, it's fine. When you come to that point, you'll also end up at the point where all the really good things that happen to you also become unimportant. You could be having a great day, something wonderful can happen, and you'll just sort of go, so your life ends up essentially meaningless, and not necessarily meaningless, but it has no... I cannot think of words today. I don't know why, but if you become indifferent to things that happen to you, you just become essentially monotone. You become boring. You don't live. You just exist. If you can't appreciate all the good things that happen to you, and you can't sort of take lessons from the bad things that happen to you, you're just there. Indifference is not a good way to be. And he's sort of going like, I've had so many tumultuous things happen in my life, I just can't deal with it anymore, and I'm just gonna be like, okay, fine, whatever, and it's not good. I never thought you'd hear me say I'm better now, I'm nobody's tragedy. Again, this goes with what I said earlier, with people that struggle, whether it be mental health or just in life in general. I'm nobody's tragedy. He doesn't want to be seen as a charity case. He doesn't want to be one of those people that needs to be fixed. He wants to be strong enough to power through and do it himself. Like I said, it's a matter of pride. He doesn't want to be seen as a victim, essentially. He wants to be seen as a strong, stoic, powerful man who can fight through. And again, that's not a good way to be, because, you end up burning yourself out, and you do end up becoming, I'm sure apathetic is the word I'm looking for, but, you just sort of go at everything. Nothing stimulates you anymore, whether it be good or bad. You just don't care, and it's not a good way to be. But he seems to be aiming for that. I don't know why. It's a bit weird. As I turn to look to the future, I see my life in a different way. It's a brand new day, a stretch of road unscathed, and I'm taking. The only thing on my mind is leaving this place so far behind, because it's my time. I'll find a better way to keep myself from breaking. See, now that's a sort of more positive look. Indifferent doesn't seem to really work here with that part of the message, because he's turning to look to the future to see his life in a different way. It's a brand new day, so a new day is dawning. There's only good things, great things could happen on the horizon. A new stretch of road unscathed, and I'm taking it. So the future looks bright. The road ahead is unmarked by mistakes or anything that's happened. So ahead is all this promise, and he's saying, I'm looking to the future. I can see this sort of clean slate ahead of me. I can make whatever I want of this new day. It's a very positive, almost uplifting element there. It says the only thing on my mind is leaving this place so far behind. So he wants to escape all the mistakes and tragedies or whatever of his past. All the things that have brought him to this moment, have not necessarily been good. And he wants to leave that. He wants to move on with a more positive outlook. Because it's my time, I'll find a better way to keep myself from breaking. So he's wanting to be positive. He wants to move forward down this new, clean slate, as it were, ahead of him. He wants to find a better way. He wants, because maybe he was coping in a bad way. And, as it showed in the video, he was essentially beating himself up. He didn't come to this realization until right at the end. But I want to find a better way to keep myself from breaking, So throughout the video, he's fighting this other entity, as it seems at the time, and it's a dark, shadowy entity, which sort of pulls me more towards the idea of depression, because depression is often referred to as like the darkness, the blackness, the shadow, the black dog generally, but it wasn't a dog, obviously, that he was fighting. He wants to find a better way of staying positive than beating himself up all the time, perhaps chastising himself. Why are you so miserable? You've got so many good things going on. It's not a good way to try and motivate yourself to be happier, essentially. Because whilst you're trying to make yourself be happy, you're also putting yourself down at the same time. Why are you behaving this way? It's pathetic. You're calling yourself pathetic. And that's not good for your own mindset. So he wants to find a better way to keep himself uplifted, to keep himself more positive. Then it goes back into that pre-chorus. I'm falling in, I'm falling out. I'm walking the straight and narrow. I'm falling in and I'm falling out. I'm breaking down again. So, again, he's trying to be positive. He's trying to move forward. He's got this clean road ahead of him, but he's falling into bad habits. He's falling into old habits again, perhaps diverging from the path that he's set for himself, or, falling into a depression maybe, or whatever it might be. He keeps falling in and out of this, hard as he might try. He keeps falling into depressions or bad habits, or making the same mistakes from the past. He keeps doing it, and I'm breaking down again. So I've tried being positive. I've tried walking the straight and narrow, as he says. I've tried to do things the right way, but all these bad habits just keep coming back. So maybe he's becoming indifferent because no matter how hard he's tried, he wants to be positive. He wants to move forward. He wants to be happy, but he keeps failing or making mistakes or whatever. Maybe he's becoming indifferent because he's like, I'm fed up with trying. I've tried to be positive, I've tried to push forward, but every time I do that, I end up failing. And these failures are taking their toll on me. It's starting to hurt too much. So maybe if I just don't even bother, nothing bad can happen. nothing good will happen, you know, so again, just existing, just sort of floating through life, as it were. Maybe that's what he's talking about, you know, he's so fed up of trying so hard and failing that he's just giving up. That could be what he's talking about. But again, it's not a good way to be, you know, because you've got to hold on to hope. You know, hope is a very powerful thing, you know, and even if you do make mistakes, you know, you've got to try and pick yourself up and move forward. I mean, Lord knows I've had my bloody downfalls. I have had so many mistakes in my life. I've had so many failures in my life. And there have been times that I've thought, you know, I just cannot be arsed anymore. I can't be bothered with this. I am so sick of things going so badly for me. You know, I wanted to just... Well, I wanted to stick a spike in my brain and just be like, you know, and just not have to worry about things anymore. You know, so, you know, I felt that feeling before, you know. I want to be indifferent. I just don't want to care anymore. You know, I've tried to do things, you know, I've tried to be positive. I've tried to make something great happen. But it keeps going wrong, you know. So, you know, I just fucking give up. You know, I just can't take it anymore. I'm fed up of it. I'm fed up of always failing. I'm fed up of always falling flat on my face and all my plans just crumbling and turning to naught. You know, so maybe that's what he's saying here. You know, I've been trying. I really have been trying, but I'm just so fed up of it going wrong. So I just don't care anymore. You know, that could be what he's saying here. So again, it goes back into the chorus. I never thought you'd hear me say, I'm better now, so I don't need your sympathy. So taking this life day by day to be indifferent. I never thought you'd hear me say, I'm better now, I'm nobody's tragedy. I'm taking this life day by day to be indifferent. I'm indifferent. And then that chorus gets repeated again. And then at the end he goes, oh, indifferent, oh, indifferent. And that's that. And like I said, throughout the song, he's obviously fighting this version of himself. And like I said, I get the sort of impression that the person he's beating up is the sort of personification of his failures, of his misery, of his depression, if you will. You know, because it's always in shadow until right at the very, very end. You know, and he's fighting like hell to get this person away from him, to keep it off him, because it, you know, throughout the video he's sort of like suspicious. You know, he can hear something's creeping up behind him. He knows it's coming, and then he's fighting off, and then he turns around and finds out that it's himself. You know, sort of like self-sabotage. So all the things that he's tried to do, all the times he's failed, it's been through his own doing. He sort of self-sabotaged himself. Self-sabotaged himself? That's a grammatically redundant statement, but you know what I mean. You know, every time he's failed, it's because he sabotaged himself. He's made it go wrong. And right at the end of the video, he sort of goes, oh, you know, I've done it to myself, you know. And, you know, throughout this song, you know, he's saying, you know, like, I don't want to care anymore. You know, I'm trying really hard. Something keeps going wrong. I don't want to care anymore. And by doing that, by not wanting to care anymore, he's making things harder for himself. He's making things worse for himself. He's essentially doing himself more damage. He's essentially ruining his own life because he's giving up. You know, and well, that's what it says to me. You know, I could be way off base for all I know. I don't know. But this is the sort of thing I'm picking up from it. You know, he's beating himself up, essentially. You know, and he's trying to fight off all this misery that's followed him his entire life. And it turns up it's him making himself miserable. So, you know, I like the sort of message that's going on with this song. I like it. Well, I mean, like I say, this is just the way that I'm perceiving it. Like I say, I could be miles off for all I know. But I like it. You know, and like I said, the actual performance in the music was good. You know, the vocal performance was good. The whole thing sounded great. And, you know, well produced. And it was actually quite a catchy piece of music. So, yeah, interesting. And this came off, the Omerta album, which was their first album, I believe. I seem to recall saying that at the beginning, was it? Yeah. So this was actually off their first album. So this was when Portnoy was on the drums. And, you know, I've seen the cover of that album before, actually. but I never knew who they were, and I'd never heard of them before. But there you go. I quite like it. You know, it's, like I say, quite catchy. It was something different. I don't think I've covered much music that sounds like this on this channel before. But yeah, I like it. I don't know what else I can say on that. So yeah, I'll leave that as it is. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a like or a subscribe if you haven't already, because it would really, really help me out. You know, I've been doing this for about 6 years, and not even 3% of people watching my videos are actually subscribed, which is a little disheartening. Because, you know, I like to think I do something a little bit different than most other reactors. You know, they just look at a music video and go, yeah, it's good. No, I didn't like it. Move on. You know, I like to talk about what the song is about. I like to study the themes and the messages within the lyrics, because metal music is very often misunderstood. You know, people seem to think that heavy metal music is all about violence, anger, aggression, murder, sacrifice, that sort of thing, and that's not true. I mean, whilst some of it might be, for the most part it's not. You know, I've done nearly 900 videos on this channel, and most of the songs we've looked at have had some sort of meaning or message that can be translated to a real world circumstance, whether it be homelessness, domestic violence, depression, anxiety, alcoholism. We've even looked at before. You know, we've looked at several different subjects in all the songs that I've looked at. You know, each song has had a meaning. Well, not all of them, but some of them have. Most of them have. You know, and this is what people don't understand. But, you know, this is a common misconception when it comes to heavy metal music, and it's something I wanted to change, or, you know, I wanted to at least help change. You know, I wanted to help people who might not have thought about it. You know, I wanted to help them look at the music in a different way and understand what the songs themselves are talking about. Because in my personal experience, most heavy metal music has more meaning behind it than almost any other music. You know, you look at pop music, a lot of it is vapid, self-serving, you know, music. You know, like you've got things like Taylor Swift, who just seems to write songs about how horrible her boyfriends are. You know, and you get other things like gangster rappers who only sing about popping caps in people's asses, you know, and drug deals and money and bitches and hoes. You know, these aren't important or necessarily relatable subjects. But you look at heavy metal, you know, you've got bands like Hell Yeah, the song Hush, talking about domestic violence and child abuse. You know, that is a really important topic that needs to be spoken about. There are so many other bands that I've covered that have talked about depression, which again is a subject that needs to be talked about, but a lot of people don't talk about it. It's seen as a taboo subject, but it's something that needs to be discussed, because it is a very deadly, I want to say disease. It's a deadly condition. You know, millions of people die from depression every year, but people still don't want to talk about it, you know, and it's important that they do. And, you know, this is what is being communicated through these songs, but a lot of people don't necessarily realise this, and this is why I do what I do. This is why I talk about the lyrics of a song, because I want to understand what the song is about. And, you know, there might be other people who listen to the song, it might mean something different to them, you know, and I want to start this conversation to find out how people interpret songs, what a song means to other people. You know, I've mentioned it before. I think it was Dave Grohl said, you know, you can sing a song to 30,000 people, and those 30,000 people will sing that song back to you for 30,000 different reasons, because that song means something different to each and every one of them. You know, and this is a sort of conversation I want to have about music. You know, I like knowing what songs are about. I like understanding the messages behind it, which is why I do what I do. And no other reactor really does that. Well, none that I've seen anyway. And, you know, I've watched a lot of reactors over the years. And like I say, most of them just look at a piece of music, go, yeah, I like it, no, I didn't like it, and that was about it. So, you know, I like to think I do something different, and I thought other people might enjoy that. You know, so if you could like and subscribe. I went off on a bit of a tangent there, didn't I? You know, so if you could like and subscribe, you know, it really, really would help me out. It doesn't cost you anything, it takes a fraction of a second, and it would make the biggest difference to me and the channel. But anyway, yeah, that's about all I've got for you today. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.